Welcome to the Let's Get Vulnerable podcast. It's your host, Dr. Morgan. I'm so excited to be here with you today. I've got a really juicy episode for you, and I'm going to be pulling from my book, which is called Love Magnet, Get Off the Dating Roller Coaster and Attract the Love You Deserve. It's on Amazon. I'm really proud to say that this book has tons of 5-star positive reviews. People love it. It's really helping you. And I've gotten so many amazing DMs as well, people saying how much this book has helped them. So if you haven't checked it out, what are you doing? Go get it. I'm going to put the link in the show notes. And also know this month, when you join the program, the month of May, we have so many incredible offers for you. One of them is we're going to send you 2 copies of the book. One for you, one for a friend. You can give it away to someone. That way you kind of have some accountability. You can read it with someone, have your own little book club. So if you are into reading and you also know, okay, I need to do the work on myself, I need to become securely attached, hopefully before summer, so I can enjoy my summer dating life. If that's you, then now is the time to join the program. You're going to get 2 books sent to you at no cost as a gift to you for joining the program in May. So anyways, I'm going to get into a chapter in this book that is all about dating. What is the name of this chapter? This is chapter 6. The title is Dating as the Securely Attached Woman. Get out there and attract a great relationship. How many of us need that reminder? Get out there. I think it's so easy to fill our lives with everything else, career, friends, family, all the things that we don't make dating a priority. And there's all kinds of reasons for that. My hope is that as I read to you from this chapter and you take this in, that you're going to be more motivated than ever to get out there, because nothing changes unless you change. You have to show up and show up differently if you want different results in your dating life. That is a fact. So let's dive into this. I'm going to be talking about dating mindset. I'm also going to go a little bit into pacing, expectations versus standards. And there was something else I want to talk about. Yeah, pacing, the intimacy onion, and red flags, yellow flags, and green flags. So we're just going, we're going for it today. This is going to be a high value episode. Number 1, there's no failure in dating. Okay, I need you to remember that. There is no failure in dating. Every experience that you have as you're getting to know people, as you're going out on dates, as you're going through a breakup or deepening a connection, whatever the experience is, there is value. There is learning. There's no failure. So those of you that are beating yourselves up and you're very self-critical and you're going, why have all my relationships failed? I want you to remember, there's no failure. There's only learning. I say in the book, why is it that when a relationship ends, we are conditioned to believe that we have failed? We reluctantly delete all the cute couple photos off of our social media accounts and proceed to post hot revenge selfies. Am I right? All the while, we're fearing the judgment that will surely come from another, quote unquote, another failed relationship. Here is the reality. No one's opinion of your journey to love matters but your own. What if we saw relationships as experiences? What if we viewed relationships as a vehicle for growth? So I want you to take those words from this chapter and allow yourself to internalize them, that really relationships are simply a vehicle for growth, okay? And one of the things that I think is so helpful with dating mindset is your relationship to rejection and the commitment to knowing that the relationship that is right for you is on its way to you. So there's these dichotomies, these things that we need to hold as true all at once. So we need to be able to hold the truth that we will experience rejection. It's part of the dating game. Things will end, right? And at the same time, the person that is right for you is out there and they're already looking for you. Those things coexist. And in the book, I say, remember this phrase: rejection is redirection. When you are being quote unquote rejected in a relationship, you are simply being redirected to the great relationship that is meant for you. As humans, we are meaning-making creatures. Anytime a relationship doesn't work out, you get to decide the meaning that you assign to the experience. To ensure a healthy dating mindset, be intentional with the meaning you assign to relationships that don't work out. A big waste of time label will not serve you. Try this instead: a learning experience that caused me to self-reflect, or an experience that helped me gain clarity on what I truly want. Sometimes we are in a relationship, and the gift that it gives us is it lets us know exactly what we don't want. How many of you relate to that? You've been in that kind of relationship where you go, okay, I know what I don't want now. And we have to train our brains to go, okay, even that is a gift. There's no failure. It's simply learning. And then the next piece I want to get into is really understanding your emotional investment and becoming that it's the love scientist approach along with pacing. Two concepts I talk a lot about. So when we are being a love scientist, we are gathering the data. We're asking ourselves, how do I feel in the presence of this person? And then from the book, I say, when you're gathering data, AKA dating, you are learning about the other person. And even more importantly, you're learning about how you feel with the other person. Do you feel anxious? Do you feel heard and valued? Or do you feel devalued and unappreciated? The other thing about gathering data is this: you can't run one single experiment and then voila, you found the results you need. Anyone can understand that experiments must be run again and again, and data must be collected over time. When you are dating, you need to gather data until the results you get are reliable and consistent. He's charming, funny, and a good listener on date number 1. Oh, that's great, but it's one date. How is he on date 17 after he's had a rough day at work, or you just accidentally spilled wine on his lap? How is he during rush hour traffic when you're late to his friend's birthday party? You need to gather the data on someone so that you know if they are worth the emotional investment. And then I go on to say this about your emotional investment. I say your emotional investment is precious. It's more precious than gold. You need to value your emotional investment and treat it with the highest respect. You cannot give it away freely, nor should you hoard it, right? So we have some of you who have a habit of going all in, head over heels. You're investing your time, you're investing your emotional energy, and you're over investing quickly. And then we have those of you, this would be more classic avoidant attachment, who are struggling to let their walls down, aren't letting people in, you're not wanting to give to their relationship, right? So neither one of those approaches work. But remembering that you get to gather the data and you get to invest your emotional energy intentionally. And this is what I say: you get to learn to invest with intention and with intelligence. A partner needs to earn your emotional investment and earn your vulnerability. Allow this process to be gradual. Ensure that it is reciprocal and guard your heart. So good, right? Really, really reminding yourself that you get to be intentional in the way that you build relationships. You don't have to build it the way you have in the past. You don't have to do it the way other people do it. You get to take your time and you get to invest in alignment with the amount of secure attachment that you've built. So, for example, because you're like, what does this mean? If I'm just getting to know someone, I'm not going to say, well, let's go on a 3-day trip to Mexico together. Let's spend Valentine's Day together, right? It's like, oh, it's date number 3, and we're planning a getaway, and we're going to go have all these close, intimate moments. As fun as that could be, it's just too fast. We need to be able to build slowly so that we have the secure attachment that supports the amount of emotional investment. In my head, I picture like a bridge that's over a waterfall, and it's one of those wooden bridges. My brain thinks in metaphors, okay? It's one of those wooden bridges that has the planks, and you know that, okay, it's got to have maintenance on it. The planks have to be there. Like there could be planks missing. Maybe it's swaying too much and the ropes are breaking down. Here's what happens is a lot of people are running across a bridge that is not built, and then they're falling into the current below. They're getting swept up in the river and they're going down a waterfall and they're getting all beat up. And it's all because they didn't build the bridge. They didn't build secure attachment, and it's falling apart on them. So this whole concept about being a love scientist, going slowly, asking yourself questions like, how do I feel? Is this how I want to feel in my ideal relationship? All of that is for and that feels emotionally safe. Without secure attachment, we do not feel emotionally safe. So slowing down in the beginning is going to save you so much pain and heartache. There's the saying, I believe this comes from the army, but slow is smooth, smooth is fast. It so applies to relationships. And if you want to shorten that, just remember slow is fast. If I take my time in the beginning, I'm actually building something that can last, then it's fast because I'm not going through breakup after breakup after breakup, right? I'm slowing down. So that was something I really, really, really wanted to talk to you about. And it goes along with this concept of pacing. Here's a paragraph I really wanted to read to you. This is on page 99 of my book. And I'm talking about pacing and the investment pool. I will use a pool as a metaphor for a relationship. And here's what I say. Here's the deal. A relationship needs to earn your vulnerability and your emotional investment. If you are in the deep end of the emotional investment pool and your partner is merely dipping his toe in, should you really be in the deep end? Has the relationship earned that depth of emotional investment from you? The answer is hell no, girl. As you deepen your emotional investment, a level of secure attachment is required. This is what I'm talking about. That most people, they go too deep and they hope that that's going to build a secure attachment without intentionally building the secure attachment and then going deeper, right? Here's what I say in the book. If the secure attachment is not there to support the investment, you must intentionally discuss this with your partner. One of the most important pieces about the emotional investment pool is that you deserve to know where each of you is in the pool at all times. If I'm in the deep end and my partner is dipping his toe in, I need to know that. If I'm sitting on the edge of the pool and I don't actually want to get in, my partner needs to know that. The reality is that as you are building a new relationship, you will not often be in the exact same part of the pool at the same time. However, you will want to know where each partner is at and do your best to stay relatively close. If I'm 4 feet in, my partner would ideally be somewhere between 3 and 5 feet in. Remember, a partner must earn your vulnerability. Okay, so I hope that pacing piece really helps you because I get so many questions about this. And the idea is that there's no perfect pacing that's ever going to happen. As you're building intimacy in a relationship, you're never going to be on the exact same page at every single moment as your partner. It's not possible. People build bonds and form bonds and build relationships at different paces. Where it becomes an issue is if you are at dramatically different places in the pool. So I discussed, one person's in the deep end and someone else is dipping their toe in. That's not going to work, right? So ideally, in a securely attached build of a relationship, you have two people who are learning to pace things more slowly, and they are kind of as close as they can be. Like I said in the book, somebody's in the 2 feet, somebody's in the 3 feet, and you're building that emotional investment together slowly over time. That's what would ideally happen in a securely attached pacing build out of a relationship. So we have covered a lot already. If you're taking notes, good for you. This is some really, really helpful frameworks for dating and mindset. So I know that this is really helpful. One of the other things I want to talk about, okay, moving on, expectations versus standards. Okay, so I'm going to read this to you. This is from the book. Let's create an understanding of expectations versus standards. For the purposes of this book, I'm going to define expectations as any time your brain is trying to fill in the blanks. So this means anytime you're about to go on a date with a hot guy you match with on Bumble and you find yourself thinking, oh my God, this guy could be the one. I mean, he's tall, he's funny. We both love the LA Lakers. I just know that this date will go well. Expectations are any time that you make assumptions about how a relationship will progress, what the person will be like, or how you are going to feel about the relationship. Expectations are very common for my anxiously attached folks, okay? And because the need to predict and control can be very high with anxious attachment. All right, now let's move on. Next up, we're going to talk about standards. So, what are standards? We covered expectations. What are standards? Standards are clearly defined set of values and non-negotiables that you have for your relationship. These can include such items as healthy communication, respect, desire for physical intimacy, and growth mindset. The standards that are most important to you are unique to you. No two individuals will have exactly the same standards in the same order. Your standards are rooted in a deep knowing of what you need for a healthy, fulfilled relationship. I'm going to say that again. Your standards are rooted in a deep knowing of what you need for a healthy, fulfilled relationship. Side note here is that your partner cannot meet all of your needs. Be intentional about the core needs and standards that you have for your romantic partner. Take out a pen and paper and write out your top 5 standards right now. So, this is a really important concept. There's a few things I've mentioned. One, expectations are bad, the way I described them, where you're trying to predict and your brain is trying to fill in the blanks. Having expectations, bad. They will screw us up. They make us put blinders on. They make us miss yellow and red flags. So expectations are a no-no, right? It's your brain using fantasy to gather data instead of actual data gathered from reality. So expectations are bad. Standards are great. And here's the thing, a lot of you haven't clearly defined your standards. And if you have, they probably are not narrowed down enough to what you specifically want from a romantic relationship. This is a key distinction, okay? There are so many needs that we have for relationships, and there are going to be needs that can only be met by your romantic partner. And then there's other needs that you can get met through your work, through your family, through your friendships. So you have to be intentional about what are the specific needs that you want met by a romantic partner. So this is where I was saying, write out your 5 standards for a romantic relationship. I want to give you that homework. Get clear. What are the 5 things that you want to be met by a romantic partner? And you know you won't get those needs met elsewhere. So here's the final paragraph of this section. This is on page 95. I say, okay, now that we have a working definition of standards, let's apply this to dating. You need to drop expectations, hold firmly to your standards. When you are a love scientist, you are collecting data to determine, does this person meet my standards? If we let our expectations blur our vision, the data collection is contaminated with assumptions and the results are not accurate. You need clear standards, no expectations, and patient data collection. Dang, I did a good job of writing this book, y'all. Whenever I reread this book, I'm like, whoa, I put a ton of effort into this. It's kind of wild. That time of my life is kind of a blur of like getting up at 5 a.m. every morning to sit down and write for an hour. Like, I kid you not, I put so much work into this book because I knew that people needed an actionable guide, not just theory, not just concepts, but what can you do to become securely attached? And they also needed something that was fun to read. I didn't want like a research heavy book. It needed to be engaging and easy to read. And that's what this book is. It's basically, I wrote it as if I was talking to a girlfriend. Like, it is written as if I'm having a conversation with you and we're having our matcha lattes and we're in a cute little coffee shop. That's the vibe. So if you've enjoyed this episode at all, go get the book. It's a no-brainer. It's super helpful. Okay. I promised you I would talk about the red flags, yellow flags, green flags. So I want to finish with that. We are going to go over it all. I'm going to give you all of the things that I have listed in this chapter. This is so much value. Okay. You ready? All right. So this starts on page, and here we go. This section is called red flags, yellow flags, and green flags. Oh my. It's supposed to be like, you know how like the Wizard of Oz is like, tigers, lions, and bears. Oh my, that's where this came from. Okay. So you've got your sexy lab coat on and you understand you need to be a love scientist. The question is, what are you looking for? I've got you covered, girl. I've developed a list of red, yellow, and green flags. One thing I want you to note is that as you gain trust with yourself and you learn to tune into how you feel, you will rely on this list less and less. And you are focused on how you want to feel and making sure your relationships support those feelings. You rely less on tactical lists and more on your gut feelings. However, early on in doing the work, lists like this one will be very helpful. Please note, red flags are things we can give feedback on, but it is unlikely that there's much room for improvement. A yellow flag is a great opportunity for feedback, and you are encouraged to provide feedback to your partner. And green flags mean send that love boat full steam ahead. The data is looking good. All right, here we go. Here's my list of red flags. Y'all ready? Number 1, the communication is inconsistent, completely falls off the radar for a week or more. Now, point 2, you don't feel you can be yourself at all. So I would elaborate on that and just say you feel disconnected from your authentic self and you feel like, oh, I'm being someone that I'm actually not when I'm around this person. So that's a bad sign. Number 3, there is no space in the conversation for you to share how you feel. Number 4, you feel invalidated. He says things like, you're crazy, that's not true, etc. Number 5, they use manipulation and say things like, I will do this if you do that, or I will only love you if, and then I have in parentheses, run. That type of language is toxic. All right. And then the next point is they say, all of my exes are crazy. Next point, has a terrible relationship with their family members. And I will give a caveat to this, right? It's like there are some people where the family of origin is so toxic that there's no way that they can have a good relationship. But usually there's at least one person in the family that can have a good relationship with. So that one, there's a little bit of nuance there. All right, next point, red flag. They think therapy is bullshit and that people with mental health issues are weak. Oh my gosh. The fact that those people still exist blows my mind. But if you're on a date with them, probably not somebody you want to build a relationship with. Okay, the next point. If they put you down constantly, even in a joking way. Next red flag, they ask you for huge favors early on. Can I borrow money? Can I borrow your car? Will you come help me move? Asking for things, asking for big things too early on. The next one is they exhibit love bombing behaviors, displays of love and affection that are not in line with the amount of time spent in the relationship. Examples, saying I love you on the second date, showering you with gifts early on, placing you on a pedestal with excessive compliments. Those are some examples of love bombing. This is a big one, okay? This next red flag, this has got to be, for a clue, this has got to be one of my favorite red flags because if they do this, look out. It is does not honor your boundaries, whether they're physical boundaries, time boundaries, preferences. If you're having someone say like, well, I don't get why, they're invalidating your boundaries, that's a really bad sign. Uses any kind of hurtful language or any kind of physical abuse. I think that's a no-brainer, right? If they're exhibiting these things early on, where they're being hurtful, they're being derogatory, they're any kind of hurtful language towards you, or if there's any kind of physical abuse, no matter how small, run. The final one says this for a red flag, that they say classic manipulation, right? So that's a fairly extensive list of red flags. Of course, there are more, but I think that really gets you the understanding of what it would look and feel like if you're dating somebody that you need to get out of that relationship ASAP. Now, yellow flags. I love yellow flags. Yellow flags are about, hey, this person showed up in this way And I think that there's room for feedback. And then I have to tell them the feedback. And then I have to gather the data to see if they're able to change. So yellow flags are really important because they teach us so much about ourselves as well, like our own ability to give feedback. So here's my list of yellow flags. Okay, number 1, arrives late to the first date. Number 2, makes a few jokes that are meant to be funny, but they do actually hurt your feelings. Number 3, shares that they've prioritized their career and that this is why they haven't found the one. I love that that's a yellow flag because we go, are they avoidantly attached? They could be. Are they moving to secure? Right. So that one is pretty interesting. And it's also something you hear pretty commonly because in our society, work and being productive is just so appreciated that if someone uses that as the reason why they're not in a relationship, we just go, well, good for you, instead of, okay, is there is there some avoidant attachment, right? So anyways, yellow flag. The next one talks a bit more about himself than he listens to you, but he does ask you a few questions. Says he's had a terrible relationship with both parents, but does get along with at least one family member. So notice how I've kind of said, okay, maybe they don't have a great relationship with parts of their family, but they have at least one family member that they're close with. Drinks more than 5 drinks in a 3-hour time frame and swears that he doesn't usually drink like this. Okay, we've all heard that. That one's kind of self-explanatory, but we don't know. That's why it's a yellow flag. If it's a one-time thing and they are drinking excessively, is that they were anxious or they got caught up in the moment. You have to be willing to give feedback and gather the data, but knowing that if someone, which this should have been in the red flags, if someone has a substance abuse issue and they are actively in the addiction phase where the addiction is running their lives, that is a red flag. You can't be with someone who's in a relationship with their addiction because they don't have emotional availability for a healthy relationship. End of story. Okay, moving on. More yellow flags. Shares that they struggle to open up and they find it hard to express themselves, but they want to work on it. They want to work on it. The next one, explain that their last relationship took a toll and that they're finally recovering. Are they over their ex? Are they not? It's a yellow flag. The next one, they are a slow texter. It takes a while to respond, but they do typically get back to you. And the final one, they want to emotionally invest quickly. They invite you to meet their family or friends prior to the 6th date. And the 6th date, it was kind of like an arbitrary number, but notice how it's yellow because that doesn't necessarily mean that there's anything wrong. It just they could have got caught up. They could have went a little too far in the emotional investment pool. They're in the 8 feet and you're in the 5. Like, you have to just be able to give feedback and see how they respond. Finally, this is how we will end this episode. Is we're going to talk about green flags. What are green flags? Green flags include open, honest, direct communication. Hell yeah, that is all so hot, isn't it? Open, honest, direct communication. Someone who seems genuinely interested in getting to know you. They communicate well and they offer you reassurance easily. Oh my gosh. And reassurance is anything that reassures us that someone is invested in the relationship, they're committed to you, they want to get to know you, they want to build a healthy relationship with you. Reassurance is part of the building blocks for secure attachment. Without reassurance, we struggle to build secure attachment. So a green flag is they're communicating well and they offer you reassurance easily. The next one, When they state that they're open to building a serious relationship, who would have thought? When they're directly stating they want a serious relationship. When they report great relationships with family and friends, so they have other healthy, secure relationships in their life. When they're able to listen intently and they validate how you feel. So active listening, and you feel heard, you feel understood, and your emotions feel validated. The next point, when they remember details from your conversations. How many of you know this? Like, it's so sexy if you share something with someone and then they remember specific details. You're going, oh my gosh, you heard me. You care about what I have to say. This is such a turn on. All right, the next one is that they welcome physical touch and they want to get to know your love language. And those are both things that deal with intimacy, right? If I'm open to physical touch and I want to understand your love language, physical touch is a love language in and of itself, but also knowing like, hey, maybe hugs are not the way that you feel loved. Can you tell me what is it that you need in order to feel loved and feel connected to me, right? So being really curious about your partner's love language. All right, final green flag, and of course there's hundreds more, but this is just a solid core list. The final one is this, that they honor your boundaries. They are comfortable spending time alone and time together. That kind of sums up that word I love to use, interdependence. I know I can depend on me and I can also depend on my partner. I have a great relationship with myself and I have a great relationship with my partner, right? So I hope you enjoyed this crash course on healthy dating and healthy relationship building. It was so fun to read to you from my book. And once again, those of you who've been on the fence about the program, this is the time. This is the time. Let's get you securely attached before summer dating so you can actually enjoy your summer and build memories with someone that you're not going to regret building memories with. Someone where you can actually build a healthy, long-term, loving, securely attached relationship, right? Like that's what we want. So by doing the work on yourself in May and June and a little bit into July, right? Like by doing that now, you can set yourself up for great relationships for the rest of 2024. Believe it or not, we're almost halfway through the year. And if you're not any closer to that goal of having healthy love in your life, it's time to take action. It's time. It's time. It's time. And like I said, now is the perfect time since we have some really special offers. If you are a helping professional, if you're a mom, we have incredible discounts for you. And we have bonuses, including the book, including the Boundaries audio course that's available. That is a in-depth course that tells you how to make the internal changes so you can set and maintain boundaries. It is a game changer. And yeah, special offers, discounts. Now is the time. Use the link in the show notes to speak with a program expert and apply today. Don't wait. I hope you love this episode. I hope you got a lot out of it. I know I loved recording it for you. And I just want to say a huge thank you to this community. You guys make this podcast so special. I can't believe it's been 4 years of recording. In February of this year, we hit 4 years. Insane how time has flown. But I am so glad you're here and part of this community. And if you haven't done this and you've been a listener, will you please go leave me a review? When you leave a written review on Apple Podcasts, that is how people find the show. So that is seriously the best thank you that you can give me is if you go leave a written review on Apple Podcasts. I would really appreciate it. Okay, y'all, I'm sending you so much love. I can't wait for our next episode. And of course, I'm wishing you high self-worth and great relationships. I'll talk to you soon.